Namah. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupakata Vayam Tadanti Sabadantikam Vandeham Shri Gurun Shri Dapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Shri Rupam Sakrajadam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Satvaitam Swavaduram Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitam He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanjana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanustute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanjakalpatarubhyascha Kirpa Sindhu Bhaivacha Patitanam Pavanibhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gauravakta Vrinda Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna.
Thank you very much, Shashwin, for the wonderful Mangalacharan recital. We are reading the Srimad Bhagavatam, and we are on Canto 1, Chapter 4, and the text for today's text 25. Shashwin, do you have text 25 with you?
Yes, Mataji.
Oh, wow, you're all prepared. Jai. Okay, so you can recite the shloka.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamutirayet. Hare Krishna. Nasta Prayet Svabhatreshu Nityam Bhavati Sevaya Bhagavatyuttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki. Hare Krishna. Sri Sudra Vijabandunam Traina Sutigat Mutara Karmasiyas Yasti Modana Silaevam Pavidira Iti Bharatam Akyanam Nupaya Duni Nittam. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Shashwin Prabhu, for the wonderful recital. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Arya Govind Prabhu. Hare Krishna, Pita Muli Prabhu. Hare Krishna, Urmila Ben. As we are waiting for Mataji to join us, we can read the text 25 again once and then continue till she joins. Arya Govind Prabhuji, would you be able to read the text and then we can repeat after you? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Prabhuji, if you can read one line of the shloka and we can repeat after you so that we can also practice the Sanskrit.
Okay. Stri Shudra Dvija Bandhunam
Stri Shudra Dvija Bandhunam
Traina Shruti Gochara
Traina Shruti Gochara
Karma Shreyasi Mudhanam
Karma Shreyasi Muddhanam
Shreya Evam Bhavet Iha
Shreya Evam Bhavetiha
Iti Bharatam Akhyanam
Iti Bharatam Akhyanam
Kripaya Munina Kritam.
Kripaya Munina Kritam.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna Mataji. Danvat Pranam. Please accept our humble obeisances on behalf of everybody who have joined Mataji and who are about to join. Mataji, we have just finished with the Manglacharan and we have read the text 25. So I'll hand over to you now, Mataji. Hare
Okay.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Let's get started. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Murtiraye Srinuvata Swagata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtanaha Hridayantastohi Abhadrani Vidumoti Sudam Nashta Prayeshu Abhatreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Namastoke Bhakti Bhavati Naishtike Om Jnanatimirandasya Nanjana Shalakaya Chakshurum Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutare Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschayatadeshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Thank you, dear devotees, for coming to today's call. And I want to first of all pay my humble obeisances to all the devotees here on the call so that I'm able to speak the relevant words of Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. So let's get started with our verse for today and try to understand what Srila Prabhupada is trying to intend to tell through this verse. All right. Let's okay, let me go through the report for you. Okay, so translation of Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Out of compassion, the great sage thought that it was wise, that it would enable men to achieve ultimate goal of life. Thus, he compiled the historical narration called Mahabharata for women, laborers, and friends of the twice born. The friends of the twice born families are those who are born in the families of Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, or the spiritually cultured families who themselves are not equal to their forefathers. Such descendants are not recognized as such for want of purificatory achievements. The purificatory activities begin with the birth of the child and the seed-giving reformatory process called Garbhadana Samskar. One who has not undergone such Garbhadana Samskar or spiritual family planning is not accepted as being the actual twice-born family. The Garbhadana Samskar is followed by other purificatory processes. This is performed at the time of spiritual initiation. The Garbhadana Samskar is followed by other purificatory processes, out of which the sacred thread ceremony is one. This is performed at the time of spiritual initiation. After this particular samskara, one is rightly called the twice born. One birth is actually during the seed giving samskara, and the second birth is actually during the time of spiritual initiation. One who has been able to undergo such important samskaras are bona fide twice born. So here, Srila Prabhupada actually talks between the differences of what the bona fide twice born is and what if the children actually come from parents who simply beget the children in the mode of passion, that those children are called Dvijabandhus. Okay, the Dvijabandhus are certainly not as intelligent as, so Prabhupada is making this comment here, that they are not as intelligent as the children of regular twice-born families. The Dvijabandhus are classified with the Sudras and women class who are by nature less intelligent. The Sudras and women's class do not have to undergo any samskara except the ceremony of marriage. So obviously we are being talked about different terms here, and samskara is, the word samskara is something that we need to understand. We need to understand what is this twice born, the concept there, and then who are Dvijabandhus, what's the difference between the two, and how about us? We have not performed any kind of samskaras when we were born, so what is the status of us? And then there's also a question about, okay, women are being told less intelligent here. It's a big controversy, isn't it? We all would like to know what that means, right? Definitely, definitely. So through this, we will be understanding all these, of course, as I said, doubts are very much important to be dispelled. And if we have doubts in our hearts, that means we are not yet ready to go to Krishna's abode. So spiritual master is the one who dispels all of our doubts. Again, it is through his mercy we are able to understand what we can understand. And only with devotional maturity at a certain point in time, we will be able to understand everything which is intended to say, like how spiritual master is able to realize those things that are now not conceivable to us. Through his mercy, we pray through his mercy that we be able to understand. And Srimad Bhagavatam, as I said, has to descend down. It has to come down, and that mercy has to flow upon our parampara so that we be able to understand what Srila Prabhupada is trying to say here through these purports. So this must be the mood, dear devotees, that whenever we hear to Srimad Bhagavatam, we should always be in the mood of servant of the servant of the servant, and be ready to accept the mercy which descends down from our parampara. Now, let's understand, as I said, without any further ado, we can get started with today's class. So here, I think in the previous classes, you would have seen about the Vedas, Rig, Sama, Yajur, Atharva, and you'd have seen, how Veda Vyas actually passed it down. And then now it's written here that we see that when it comes to Vedas, the Shudras and women, they are not able to understand. They have no qualification to understand. Here is important to understand that in order to understand the Vedas, a person must be very highly disciplined, very highly disciplined. In order to understand the Vedas, the person must be disciplined, and he has to memorize it. He has to lead a very strict life. He has to have a very austere life. And this is, again, very impossible for women, isn't it, from that perspective? They have to strictly follow the rules. And again, we have... in the age of Kali, it's of course Shudras. That's what Srila Prabhupada says. Srila Prabhupada explains in the purport there is no Brahmana, Kshatriyas or Vaishyas left now, and everybody is Shudras because of our consciousness. And again, in this verse, we saw Kali Yuga qualities. If you don't forget that, because this is very important. We have to keep reminding ourselves about Kali Yuga qualities. What are the qualities? People in Kali Yuga, they have decreased bodily strength. They are faithless. They are impatient due to the lack of goodness. They are dull-witted, and then they are reduced in duration of life, and they are unlucky. So these are the qualities of Kali Yuga people. So we have to keep reminding ourselves in which yuga we are situated, because this yuga, the austerity that is, the discipline that is needed to understand Vedas is not there at this age. the person has to be highly disciplined, and he has to memorize the Vedas. Everything has to be by heart, and he has to lead a very strict life. So when we consider the women, of course, these things are even not possible in the men of this age, because we have duties that we are performing. Most of us are all in ashrama, so there is Vedas. To understand them, it's very, very difficult. So people with low intelligence, namely women, Sudras, they do not possess the qualities to understand the transcendental Vedas. And for them, again, Mahabharata was composed. This is what Srila Prabhupada says. The purpose of Mahabharata, what is the purpose? It is to bring people understand what is the purpose of Vedas. Therefore, Mahabharata includes the summary of Vedas, which has the summary of the Vedas. The essence of the Vedas is Bhagavad Gita. So people with low intelligence, usually they are interested in stories than philosophy, isn't it? If so that's generally the mentality. People don't want to get into philosophy. I like to proudly understand a pastime and things of that nature. People, our group is really good in that sense. That we discuss Krishna Katha, we discuss philosophy, we discuss pastimes. There is variety here. And all of you are so attentive to details and ask relevant questions, and very, very sincere, every day attending Srimad Bhagavatam, understanding, Srila Prabhupada's books. This is definitely very rare, because now people are used to listening to shorts. What is this shorts? Shorts means 1 minute video, 2 minute video. I can't, my memory can't take more than that. It's overwhelming. I cannot tax my memory. I can only concentrate for 1 minute. So people are after these shorts, small video clips. Okay. So this is how much the retention of memory is that much only for us. We are not able to concentrate and focus. Whenever I take some classes for youth and kids, I tell them, your hands have to be hand-free. Hands-free. What happens is, in the process, when the teacher takes the class, they tend to go to different websites and start browsing the websites. And because of that, their mind deviates and takes them to different places, you can imagine. So I tell them, you have to be hands-free. Just show your hands so I can I can just see you're not doing anything else. And I definitely make it interactive, because interaction is the only way I can get the attention of the youth and the older kids. So when we interact and ask questions, that way they are able to understand the flow. And if they don't answer, at least they get to know what is the thing. So this is the age of Kali Yuga, and we really have to utilize all possible techniques to get the mind concentrated on Krishna Katha, because it is this material world has so much to offer, and we are kind of deviated that direction. So now the father and mother, if they are not going to follow the spiritual rules, and if they're planning to conceive a child driven by passion, then that child is called what? Dvija Bandhu. Okay. These Dvija Bandhus, they are not, Prabhupada says, they are not as intelligent as the children of the real double-born families, because they have gone through samskaras. That means purificatory rites. What does this purificatory rites mean, and what is the samskara? We'll talk about it little later. But now we understand, of course, one is begetting children in the mode of passion. Another is you're going through proper purificatory rites before a child is born. And after the child is born also, you go through certain specific rituals, and you try to fix the ego of a person. Basically, these are done so that the ego of the person who's born is fixed. Again, the ego of the person. What does this mean? What do you say the ego is fixed? The child is not even born, and how can you fix an ego? You may ask this question, isn't it? These are very valid questions, and we are going to see an example of how impressions get fixed even when a child is not born. So we will go through that and understand it with an example, because that's the only way that can get into our head. Understanding our we have so much of treasure. Of course, we are discussing about Mahabharata here, so we'll definitely look into the aspect of Mahabharata and get an understanding how impressions are actually formed even before birth. So we need to understand that. Now, very important point is being talked about here, as you all can understand. Shudras and women's are quoted as less intelligent. What does this less intelligent means? Can you please help us resolve this, Mataji? Because we always have this question, why are women being forecasted in a negative way? So now the answer is, when it comes to Vedic culture, we need to understand intelligence means it is the ability to differentiate between matter and spirit. What is intelligence? Intelligence is it is the means through which we can differentiate matter and spirit. Okay, and intelligence begins with an understanding of Srila Prabhupada's most quoted statement: "I am not the body, but I am the soul." Right? This is what intelligence begins with. So the body misidentification is strong for everyone in this material world, both men and women. But in general, the tendency is that it is stronger for women because she has a form, she's attractive, alluring to a man. To a large extent, women is not very conscious about her spiritual identity or her self-identity, right? So she is so attached to her body, and and of course she from the comparison perspective, comparison of a male to female, male generally have an understanding, okay, I'm not the body, I'm the soul. They can definitely relate to it much better than the females. This is the understanding. In that case, okay, so now we need to understand, why are you saying so? How can we say that females are not able to understand this concept of bodily misidentity? I mean, why do they identify with the body? Could you please help us understand? So if you look at the males and if you look at the females, the males are more rational, isn't it? Very rational. So the misidentification with the spirit, misidentification of spirit with matter is lesser in males compared to that of females. But when you compare, when you look at the females, they are very emotionally attached. They have that emotional component. When they have this emotional component, you can see the very fact that children behave, the children are given so much affection from specifically the mother is because she is able to pour her affection and attachment to her child. She considers the child as her own, isn't it? This is because she has this emotional component, more of emotional component. But when it comes to male, they have more of rational component. So this is what is the understanding. This is why we say, in the sense, women are less intelligent means they are very much attached to the body, and because of which they are able to show certain traits. The function of the mother, as far as emotion goes, is very, very vital. The children, when they are given so much affection, specifically unconditional love from her mother, it shows. It's very, very important for the formative years. They offer unconditional love without any expectation, without any those profuse emotions that come from the female actually helps this child get nourished. It's a blessing. It's a blessing to have such a mother, isn't it? So the women play two roles. One is the object of, in the sense, women play a role of mother, and she's the source of shelter for the child. So in the Vedic culture, more so, the role that she plays as a mother, is emphasized more. That is why she's so attached to her body. She considers her children as if it was her own bodily. It's just coming. There's no difference between her and the baby, because of which she's able to pour her emotions out to the child. And hence, for her to understand she's not the body and she's the soul is kind of difficult, given that scenario. This is what Vedic culture refers to when you talk about less intelligent women. Okay, and now coming to the point of, again, we are not talking about anything from a material perspective here. Of course, women are CEO, women are doing this, women are doing that. Absolutely understandable, absolutely okay. We are not at all talking about that material role that she's playing. Her material identity is not spoken about here. So her primary weakness is being pointed out here, that she has this emotional component because of which she's attached to her body and she's not able to comprehend or understand the point that we are souls and we are not the body. That's all. But again, coming back to various quotations from Srimad Bhagavatam. What are the quotes and Bhagavad Gita quotes? What is that we need to understand from them? We'll understand that. In Kali Yuga, everyone, Srimad Bhagavatam verse number 4.12.48, the purport of Srila Prabhupada says, in Kali Yuga, everyone is unintelligent, both men and women. Okay, in the age of Kali, everyone is a Shudra. Because the whole population of the world consists of Sudras, there is a decline of spiritual knowledge and people are unhappy. He points out that fact. Okay, so this is very important for us to know. Both are, of course, unintelligent from the perspective that we are not able to understand who we are. Because the main reason why we are able to see sufferings in this world is because we are not having the vision of servant of the servant of the servant of the servant. Even though theoretically we say, practically we are not able to have that vision. And because of which we see the world filled with dualities. Once the person, attains the perfection where he is able to get himself situated in the platform of true ego, that time he'll be able to see this world, this material world with a different set of eyes. The Jnana Shakshu will be there, through which he will see this world. So Krishna, he also explains in the Bhagavad Gita that living being is not a material body, but a spirit soul within the body. The distinctions between man and women, however, are simply material. They have nothing to do with spiritual soul within. A Krishna conscious person sees no difference between the spiritual soul in the body of a woman and that in the body of a man. From the purport of Bhagavad Gita 3.42, we can say that intelligence means to discriminate between spirit and matter. To the degree either a woman or a man thinks he or she is the body, to that degree he is less intelligent. We need to understand it. Srila Prabhupada very, very clearly quotes in 3.42, purport of 3.42 to say that anybody who thinks he or she is a body, to that degree he or she is less intelligent. Okay, Srila Prabhupada, however, he also mentions in certain occasions to say that, yes, women are not as intelligent as men, but when a woman becomes a devotee, she is as intelligent as a man. So, because we are all Vaishnavas, there is no difference. Because we are all training in the same path, trying to understand. Of course, theoretically, we got this point, we are not the body, but the soul. The soul is amazing. Why it is amazing? Even though it is a concept that is spoken farly and widely all the time, still we are not able to realize we are the soul and we are not the body. That is the point. That's why the soul is very amazing, isn't it? So many times we have spoken. Of course, Srila Prabhupada has repeated it so many times in the lecture. But are we able to realize and come to an understanding that we are not the body but the soul? No, not yet. So this is where we need to strive to get the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, get the mercy of our Guru Vargas, and get the mercy of Krishna. Right? So this is such a, such an often quoted statement, but it is very much, it's not realized from that perspective. So we need to definitely consciously think about it. So this particular purport, which talks about what is less intelligent, when we call women as less intelligent, that is being clarified now. So I just wanted to make that point clear. So it's from an emotional perspective. The woman has a tendency to get attached to body, gets attached to matter. And because of that reason, she's not able to comprehend the higher reality, saying that we are soul. She's not able to understand that fact. And again, from a devotee perspective, it doesn't matter because we are all trading in the same direction, trying to understand who we are and attain perfection and go back to Krishna. This is something that I wanted to clarify through the purport. And now Krishna has outlined a philosophy in the Vedas in the form of what? Bhagavad Gita. So both Vyasadeva and Lord Krishna are on the transcendental plane, and therefore they collaborated this for our benefit. For this age, for the fallen souls of this age, we need the essence of Vedic knowledge because we can't understand Vedas. It's very difficult. So now Bhagavad Gita acts as that essence of Vedic knowledge. along with the Upanishads. It is a book containing the basic information of all spiritual values, isn't it? So Vedanta philosophy can be studied only by those who have, who are, what do you call it? They have to be in this devotional service to the Lord. They have to be a graduate student so that they can enter into the spiritual science. So this is a great science. This is the, this science is taught by Lord himself, who's none other than Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And we need to understand this transcendental loving service to the Lord. And this can obviously be understood by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's teachings. People do not understand the meaning of Vedas. So he explained the meaning of Vedas in the Mahabharata. And now, not Mahabharata, but that essence is conveyed to Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna says, Vedescha sarve hameva vedyo. All the Vedas are designed to know me. You have to know me. Then only that means you know Vedas. So Srila Prabhupada in this commentary is making it very, very clear. What is he saying? He made the Mahabharata out of compassion for us. The essence of Mahabharata is Bhagavad Gita. The essence of Bhagavad Gita, what is it? What is the essence of Bhagavad Gita? This has to be understood. This is what is our next point. The essence of Bhagavad Gita is that it creates faith. The component of faith is very, very important. We have to restore the faith that we have. Srila Prabhupada based his preaching on Bhagavad Gita, isn't it? Because it generates faith, it generates Shraddha. It specifically has come out, this message of Bhagavad Gita has come out from the lotus lips of Lord Krishna in order to restore this faith in all of us. We know people who are atheists in this country. They simply believe in, they don't believe in God. And that is why Srila Prabhupada has this commentary, Bhagavad Gita as it is. So the role of Bhagavad Gita in this age of Kali is that it restores the faith that we need. Because when the faith is not there, we will not be inclined to perform our sadhana. This faith is the basis of everything that we do. Why we are coming here together? To increase our Shraddha, to increase our knowledge on Lord Krishna, isn't it? We need to know what does he like and what does he not like. We need to know how we should act and how we should not act. What is Anukul for Bhakti? What is Pratikul for Bhakti? What is it that I need to know to go to Krishna? Because in order to form that relationship with Krishna, I need to know that person. I need to understand what his likes and dislikes are, isn't it? So without that, how are we going to establish that relationship with him? It's not possible. So we need to establish that relationship, and that is what we are working on. And now coming back to this point on impressions. So we've completed one section of the Srila Prabhupada's purport, which actually talked about Bhagavad Gita, Mahabharata, and then what is the essence of it. And we also spoke about what is less intelligent means when it comes to women. Okay, so these are some of the topics that we have completed. Now, coming back to impressions, I just want to kind of give a holistic idea on this verse so that you're able to obviously understand the nuances to this verse as such. Okay, so now, so we, as I said, we've quoted Mahabharata, so why not we delve into Mahabharata, understand what these impressions are from that perspective. Okay, so now Dhritarashtra, he's the son of who? Vichitravirya. So going back to the hierarchy, Maharaj Shantanu had one son, Bhishma, who chose not marry. We all know that. He had other sons. His sons were Chitrangada, who died before marrying, and Vichitravirya, who married to Ambika and Ambalika. But he died before actually getting a progeny to them. So in order of, so at the order of Shantanu's wife, who's the mother-in-law, that is Satyavati, Ambika and Ambalika, they were asked to unite with who? Vyasadeva. Now, the union of Ambika with Vyasadeva actually produced who? Dhritarashtra. And Ambalika with Vyasadeva actually produced Pandu. And through the maidservant, a union with Vyasadeva produced Vidura. This is the hierarchy. And Dhritarashtra is the son of Ambika. And when Vyasadeva came to unite with Ambika, Ambika was actually expecting Bhishma because she thought that he was her brother-in-law. And when she saw Vyasadeva, she was mortified because Vyasadeva was the sage, he was returning from the forest, that too performing a lot of austerities, isn't it? And moreover, he was in a very disheveled state, very, he was not at all physically attractive. So because of this revulsion, what happened was she closed her eyes. And because she closed her eyes, at the time of union, Dhritarashtra was born blind. Now we wonder, right, how this is happening? He just closed the eyes and how this could impact the child. So we will understand that. So this is what is prenatal impressions, right? Prenatal means before the birth, in the womb, the impression that actually go from mother's side to the child's body, right? The impressions are conveyed. Actually, closing of eyes doesn't have anything to do with the eyes of the child, we may think, but the impressions are conveyed. So that way, the reactions of both the sisters, if you look at Ambika and Ambalika, on seeing Vyasadeva has an effect. Now we saw about Ambika, right? The reaction of Ambika on seeing Vyasadeva, what did she do? She closed her eyes. And the Dhritarashtra, he was born he was born blind. And then when it comes to Ambalika, what happened? We need to understand that, right? Of course, you all know the story. She knew what to expect, right? Of course, from this, she knew what to expect. So she was very careful and she didn't want to close her eyes. She was very, very cautious about that. She was the younger, and of course, she definitely, she understood all the intricacies, what had happened with Ambika, and she was so very, very careful not to close her eyes. But still, upon meeting Vyasadeva, she turned pale. This also had an effect. The effect was that the child was born with what? Pale complexion. And that is why he was known as Pandu. So the prenatal impressions do have effects, isn't it? How about Prahlad Maharaj? If you see the example in contrast to what happened, what sort of impressions he developed when he was in the womb, listening to Narada Muni. So we can definitely see the contrast of what, what these impressions, how these impressions actually play a role in prenatal growth of children. So the samskaras that we get from our birth and our upbringing, the kind of impressions actually imbibe our, it fixes our thinking, and it has a significant impact, so as to speak. Oh, Mataji, some people, of course, people of Kali Yuga are so modern, they don't want to believe in any of these samskaras. And hence, it is duty of the devotees. I mean, we perform Garbhadana Samskar. As we all know, Garbhadana Samskar is performed by a Karma Yogi. It is also performed by a devotee. A Karma Yogi, he performs Garbhadana Samskar to fix the false ego of a child. Say, for example, he is a Brahmana, Kshatriya, or a Vaishya. This particular false ego that he is this sort of person, he is a Brahmana, this identity has to be fixed in a child. This is what is the intention of a Karma Yogi when he does Garbhadana Samskar. But what about a devotee? A devotee, again, he does Garbhadana Samskar. We modify it, right? We modify it so that it actually fixes the true ego of a child. He becomes the servant of the servant of the servant of the servant. This is the mood that we operate on. This is the mood we work on to fix the false ego, not the false ego. To fix he needs to have true ego. So we need to have established that identity in this child. Have established the identity of his true ego. This is what we work on when we say Garbhadana Samskar. This is very important. I don't know about, the formalities. Of course, a lot of ladies, they do read Srimad Bhagavatam, the husband and the wife, they do chant prescribed number of rounds. The number could vary before child is, obviously, they want to set their consciousness right before they have the union, things of that nature. I really don't have the specific details, but this is the principle. The essence. What is the essence? The essence is that when it comes to Karma Yogi, what does he do? He tries to fix the false ego of that child. When I say false ego, depending upon whether he's a Brahmana, Kshatriya, or a Vaishya, he wants that child also to have that same identity. The material identity needs to be fixed. So, okay, if he's a Brahmana, this material identity that this child is a Brahmana needs to be fixed for the child. Then only he will perform all the things that is required of what a Brahmana should do, isn't it? When that ego is fixed, yes, I need to do Sandhya Vandanam 3 times. I need to get my secret samskara, thread ceremony. I need to be very good in the, the reading of the scriptures. Whatever the rules, I mean, whatever the duties are for a Brahmana, that will get imposed by doing this Garbhadana samskar. Okay, so that is their perspective, and our perspective is, as a devotee, we want this child to have true ego. We want this child to be dasanu. That's all. That is our goal. That is our intention. That is what is the samskara for. The intention has to be clear. The motivation has to be clear. Why we do what we do. If we understand the essence, everything else is taken care of. Okay. So again, we are probably, I probably had some samskaras where my mom actually took me, I think, to Guruvayur to give me Annaprashna, and so things of that nature. And my granddad, he was definitely a very, very great devotee. I derive a lot of inspiration from my grandfather and my grandmother. They were the ones who brought me up when I was young. So those samskaras are still very active. My granddad, he used to chant this Hare Krishna Mahamantra with so much, what do you call it? I still remember, I was very small, but I still remember how he used to bring so many devotees to house and always organize Krishna Katha and keep doing Krishna Katha at our house. So those samskaras actually play a very important role when devotees come to our home. We get the association of devotees. And my mom used to tell me, I used to just go around all of them, trying to disturb everybody during the Krishna Katha sessions. This is what my active role would be, just to go around and disturb people. I used to be wearing that anklets, and that would create so much noise and disturb everybody around. My mom used to tell me that, you're known for that, Radhika. But anyways, the point is that our upbringing also matters a lot, and what type of impressions we are fed upon also determines how we are going to go out as a person, isn't it? Grow out as a person. The past samskaras do determine, our the impressions play a very important role, both from the past and the current. So we definitely, because the way we act is due to our impressions, isn't it? The past impressions actually trigger us to act in a certain way. So as I said, raga and dvesha plays a very important role in our life, and that raga and dvesha has to be converted to what Krishna likes and what Krishna doesn't like. We have to avoid. So our raga and dvesha has to be molded in that fashion, which is also in essence. So samskaras, as we understand, that we get from the birth and our upbringing, and all these kind of impressions, what do? They fix our ego. So samskaras, if you were to understand, you can compare it with a film. So the films are gone, but probably, as you all know, there's no trace of films now. That most samskaras are stored in our subconscious mind, and they're not even manifested. Some are not even manifested; they are accumulated there. It is what shapes our personality, and any kind of psychologist, he understands what is the samskara and all that, because some people have some fear, so they go to a psychiatrist or a psychologist, and to get out of the fear, you have to actually bring the samskaras live, and that is what they do, and then the fear goes away. So like that, we have so many samskaras that are not even manifested yet. We don't even, we are not even able to trace it yet, and they will slowly get revealed over a period of time if we are associating with that sort of, people, say for example, bad association. When we get associated with those people, then those impressions that are there in our subconscious mind will slowly start to come out, and we will start to show lust and so many other bad qualities, which are not explicitly seen now, because we are in a good association, so as to speak. So samskaras means deep imprint that is there in our mind. So this is the understanding of the samskaras. Hope you're clear with this. And now we will try to get into an important samskara that we all have to go through. And I don't know if I will have time to cover the Pancha Samskaras, but that was the next topic that I was going to take. But before getting this Pancha Samskaras, of course, we want to understand what is the initial steps that we have to take to get to that level. Probably we will discuss that and then stop, because I'm not sure if we will have time to cover all the 5 Pancha Samskaras. But definitely to understand the prerequisite is very important. So we are not missing out on the essence, right? So if you look at this real world, we associate with people who are less perfect, right? In this material world, we constantly associate with people who have this modes of passion and ignorance, and it leaves an imprint on us. And samskara, or a rite, is definitely intended to straighten the soul. Like we could take an example of a sculptor, right? When he makes some kind of sculpture, what does he do? He molds it. He creates a beautiful shape out of that sculpture. And the essence of the samskara lies precisely in this, to begin the process of creating a beautiful spiritual form of a person. This is what samskara will do, the right samskaras. So we will talk about, Baladev Vidyabhushan, he has given this particular book called Pramya Ratnavali, where he describes the actual process of human transformation. And then Bhakti Vinod Thakur also has given an article on Pancha Samskara, which actually explains the process of initiation. So these 2 are very important quotations that we'll be using to see the relevance of this for today's class. Moving on, Sanatan Goswami in his Hari Bhakti Vilas quotes from Narada Pancharatra, where he says Diksha or initiation is compared to that of an alchemical process. Alchemical means, say, this is pseudoscience, okay, where we know how to turn a metal into gold. Ancient people, they knew the secret of the science. In a particular initiate, so this is they knew, okay, how to convert, how to transform the actual piece of metal into gold. They knew. And gradually what happens is this has to be softened to a state of nectar. The iron has to be molded to a state of a nectar. This they knew the secret. So again, from initiation perspective, this also has the same meaning. It should be able to transform our consciousness, our soul, our heart, which is corroded with what? It is corroded with material modes of passion, ignorance, and this has to become what kind of heart? A pure heart made of gold. So with gold begins the softening of our heart. Okay, so previously it was iron, and through the softening, what happens is we are able to turn it into gold, which then will be melted into a state of nectar. So this is the understanding that Sanatan Goswami gives through Hari Bhakti Vilas. And as I said, we have 2 quotations, and one is from Pramya Ratnavali by Srila Baladev Vidyabhushan, that explains about the first condition of the process. What is the first condition? The first condition, we have to listen carefully. This is not an easy thing. Of course, as I always say, whenever I say something, it first applies to me and then applies to all of you. And obviously, the words of our acharyas are Shabda Praman, and it has to be taken with utmost attention. There is no other way, no other way, no other way. Because those are the ones that are going to relieve us from the suffering of material existence. And of course, we need to get to the lotus feet of Lord Krishna, and for that we need the mercy of our acharyas. Our acharyas have given so much, and it's it's a blessing that we've been given a gold mine. A gold mine is there, and we shouldn't be looking out for filth, right? So Srila Prabhupada always says you can even look for filth in a you can look for a gold in a filth, but we already have big gold mine. There is no need for going to the filth and looking for gold there. Okay, so we are filled with a lot of treasures in the form of books and teachings of our acharyas. So that is enough to keep us engaged in this lifetime. So what does he say? The important point that he says is Satseva Guru Seva Deva Bhavena Chet Bhavet. He says our attitude, what should be our attitude in relation to Guru and Vaishnavas? When we are asked this question, we should serve the Vaishnavas, Satseva, and serve our spiritual master, Seva Guru. How? Deva Bhavena, in a mood as if they were God. They are God. This is the first and the most important condition a person must fulfill. He must look at other Vaishnavas and he must look at his spiritual master as God. Treat him and serve them as God. Okay? Through this, one will attain bhakti. And only because of this, labhyate nanyata kvachit. There is no way to get bhakti. There is no other way to attain bhakti. The secret of bhakti starts with this. What? I should look at the Vaishnavas who are around me. I should look at my spiritual master as God. And then this is the way I can actually rehearse my relationship with Lord. Very important, isn't it? I have no other way and learn how to relate to God properly, except how I have to be training on these things. I have to be trained and well-versed. If I have to go and establish my relationship with the Lord, then I have to actually act in that mood now. I have to be trained now, isn't it? So the particular case where how I should treat the Guru and Vaishnavas is that I should have the right frame of mind. If I don't have the right kind of mind or right frame of mind, then I will not be able to serve the Lord in that way. So I have to first do a rehearsal here before I go to the spiritual world, which is the first point that he clarifies. How you have to serve the Guru and spiritual master. And then there is a quotation of Prahlad Maharaj. If you look at 11.5.32 from Srimad Bhagavatam, it is said that, we have to remove the obstacles that we have. And what is the first obstacle that we have? Our own body. A body that is permeated with modes of passion and ignorance is what is the first obstacle. And the body that has to be taken, this body has to be driven away from that modes, isn't it? So in order to eliminate this, in order to achieve this goal, Prahlad Maharaj says a person who has inclination for God. So we all have inclination for the lotus feet of Urukrama, right? The Lord who's glorified in the scriptures. If we have that desire to serve him, we need to take the dust of the Vaishnavas. There is no other way. If you want to serve the lotus feet of the Lord, that means you have to take the dust of the Vaishnavas. What do you mean, Mataji, taking the dust of the Vaishnavas? What does that literal meaning mean? It means I have to actually, I have to do something that they want. I have to actually serve their needs. That is what serving the dust of the lotus feet of the Lord means. So what does that mean again? We should try to do something a Vaishnava wants. So this is the way we serve the dust of the lotus feet of the Vaishnavas. We should try whatever they want, we have to do. That should be the mentality of service. Not what you want, what they want. Okay. So this is what Prahlad Maharaj says. Then Baldev Vidyabhushan, he explains the second concept. What is the second thing that is needed? He says from Svetashvara Upanishad, saying, Yashya Devo, we all know this verse, Yashya Deve Parabhaktir Yata Deve Tha Guru. Right? This is what Svetashvara Upanishad says. The words, again, a person who doesn't have bhakti towards Guru, ultimately doesn't have bhakti towards God. This is again repeated in Katha Upanishad as well. So you will understand that the spiritual knowledge will be revealed only when you have, I don't know what's going on, my sons are, I don't know if you're able to hear, they are probably in a very high tone now, playing. Anyways, so the only way you can have devotion to a spiritual master is that you have to take the words of the spiritual master seriously. That is the only way to have devotion to the spiritual master. And this devotion to the spiritual master is needed because that is how you will be able to have devotion towards the Lord. This devotion towards Guru is important because that actually results in devotion towards Lord. Okay, we can only reach Krishna through the mercy of Guru. We cannot have a direct darshan to Krishna without Guru. No, that is not at all possible. This has to be through Guru, and hence we have to first consider Guru as God, rehearse that so that we are able to connect to Krishna and have that relationship with Krishna. Then we have to serve the feet of the devotees of Vaishnavas. That means we have to do something that they want. And now we are saying that we should have devotion towards the spiritual master, and that devotion to spiritual master means we have to take his words very seriously. He speaks Krishna Katha, and we have to follow. When we have this attachment towards our Guru, we will start to follow his instructions. Because if you don't have attachment now, you are not going to follow. This attachment actually will help us overcome our anarthas. When we are attached to a person, yes, for your sake I will do, Amma. I may just, my mom may say something, I'll just do it for her sake because I love her. Likewise, when we develop that same relationship with the Guru, having attachment towards that Guru, we will listen to his words and we will take him seriously. This is the way we can have devotion towards Lord, by having Guru Bhakti. So I don't know, I think I'll probably stop here with the intention of time. So these are some of the important points which I wanted to cover through today's verse. So yeah, so let's conclude. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Vancha Kalpatarubhyasya Kripasantu Kevacha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.
Hare Krishna, Mataji, thank you very much for explaining this important questions, because these are the ones that come up all the time, and especially people who are not on this path of Krishna consciousness. They always have these problems, and even we, because we are not even on the path, we are just thinking yet. So thank you for explaining this. Before I ask any questions, are there any questions or comments from the group, so that I don't hog up all the time? Hare Krishna. Okay, till everybody's thinking about and internalizing what you've said, Mataji. So this concept of getting born again, or twice born family, twice born, I think that this concept is also there in Christianity, where they say they are born again, like the Catholics. They perform some initiation or they perform some rites in the church, and they said, I'm a born again Christian. So is it similar, or
I have no clue about those specific rites. Absolutely no idea. Sorry, Mataji.
Yeah,
when it comes to Christianity,
I meet a lot of people who are Christians. I mean, I work with a lot of them. So they say, oh, I'm a born again Christian. And so now when this has come up, I will ask them what they mean. I now know what in our way, our Shastras are. Maybe it is the same, or maybe it is different.
Yeah, there could be intricacies, because I think from a soul perspective, not sure if they are. I mean, I just don't want to. It's speculate. Yeah.
Mataji, at the same time, I understand when you say about women being less intelligent, and in which context you are saying. We both are women, so I know what you're trying to say. But yet, when we see all these kathas and everything, that everybody, even any katha, you will see the number of women being more in those than men. So here, men is equated to being a devotee. A devotee, it's not the normal men.
Mataji, that's what Mataji. When it comes to devotees, now there's no distinction of men and women. As much as to a point you think you're a body, you're intelligent. That's all. So that's what Srila Prabhupada says. So we don't have to worry about he's the men. There's only one Purusha, and that Purusha is only Krishna. So what we are doing in terms of categorization is all in this material world, but there is only one Purusha, and we are all subordinates to him. That Purusha is only Krishna, and everybody else are servants of Krishna. There's no, when a devotee community, there is no difference between male and female. because everybody is inclined to go in the path of Krishna consciousness, trying to perfect their lives to understand who they are and what mode they should operate. So there is no, okay, there could be in Krishna Kathas, there could be more women than men or men more than women. That doesn't make any difference for us, because we are having only one Purusha. This is what a devotee thinks. I am just a servant and I want to serve the Lord, who's the only Purusha. There's, I don't care if I'm intelligent, not intelligent. I just want to serve Krishna, and that must be my mood, and nothing else matters. It doesn't matter, And when we operate this manner of being the servant of the Lord, and when we have a consciousness straight and ego correct, in all points of time, if we operate in this mood, then what happens is Trinadapi Sunichena Tharorapi Sahishnuna Manina Manadena Kirtaniya Sadaharihi. So prema, to get prema, the only route is through humility. If you have this quality of humility, and this quality of humility comes when you act in the platform of the servant of the servant. So this has to be there. And that is the way to reach prema, get prema, this mood of humility. And when you have that mood, we will not, when you are humble, you will not think, yeah, I'm the controller, I'm the enjoyer, I'm the proprietor, I'm superior to him. No, you don't. You are the servant. This is the mood we need to operate on. When we see these dualities and when we see these comparisons, we are, probably, we have to up our consciousness a little bit.
Sorry, Mataji, we are taking Saturday
no,
morning.
No. He's going to a park. So these guys are so much into cricket and outdoor activities. I'm okay with that, as long as they are not computer addicts. I'm fine.
They'll get their vitamin D as well, so that's good. Fresh air and the sun is very good for them. So
yes,
that's
Mataji, it's pretty well light here. Very, very nice, good temperature, and yeah.
Mataji, last question. I feel this is an irony, because a mother loves her child unconditionally without expectations. So yet, this is the quality you should have for Krishna. And women have that quality. So I know what it is to love my child unconditionally, and I don't expect anything from them.
Correct.
So this is the very same quality that I should have for Krishna. So I think women are better situated to go into Krishna consciousness because they know what it means. For a father, I think unconditional love doesn't come because they are geared differently. And same thing for a man, all of us are Shudras. We are all in the serving industry. Whether you are an accountant or a doctor or a lawyer or whoever, you are always serving somebody else. So that is a prime quality you need for entering into Krishna consciousness, to be a servant of a servant of a servant. So everybody, all men and women right now are servants anyway. So they have that basic. It's just to change the thinking or change the mindset to Krishna. So I think
you got it right, Mataji. You got it right. Women have this quality of emotional component, is in her, and this component, when it's dovetailed to Krishna, then that becomes the perfection of our lives. And this quality, as such, she has got it through Krishna's mercy. And as a devotee, we could very well utilize this quality to have attachment for Krishna. Which is very, very valid. And of course, men, even though they have the rational thinking, after reading scriptures, when they get this Shastriya Shraddha, because Shastriya Shraddha is the basis of everything. So when they get that Shastriya Shraddha, they will also get this attachment towards Krishna. That quality will actually, these qualities come to us, whatever, the forbearance, tolerance, humility, all this comes by the mercy of Krishna, isn't it? Our mercy of Guru Vargas. We don't possess. I mean, the thing is, we are covered by these qualities. We are covered in ignorance. We have these innate qualities in us, but we are covered. And this covering has to be removed, and that is mercy. And nothing is in our hands. So when a devotee reaches perfection, he will say, "No, I'm still a worm in the stool." That is their perception. They really feel like that. even though they have prema, they don't see it. This is a quality of a devotee. Then you can think, what does humble mean? Even when they have this, they will think, no, I don't have it. But we may imitate, okay, I don't have it. But then it is natural and spontaneous in them. They genuinely feel like that. So this is the mood of humility, and everything descends down by mercy for a devotee who is sincere in his sadhana and also sincere when it comes to listening to any kind of transcendental literatures, because they are all shabda descending down, and that, as I said, this is mercy that has to flow down. To understand any of these spiritual matters, the mercy has to descend down. Only by their mercy we can understand even a teeny tiny bit of what we understand. So yeah, Mataji. So anybody can get the quality as long as they have Shastriya Shraddha. Shraddha in the scriptures is the road to perfection. Absolutely, I believe in that. Otherwise, a person can be bent. Oh, your family members say, Ma, what are you doing? You're wasting your time chanting so many rounds. No, so many things are there. Come on, let's have fun. When you have Shastri Shraddha, you will not be bothered by that. You will just say, I need to do what I need to do to keep me intact, because you have that belief. Otherwise, people can bend you. They'll just bend you, and you will go with them. That's what Shastri Shraddha helps us with. That's what the Kanishta is. The Kanishta can be easily bent, so he has to be very careful and try to become a Madhyama who's well read in scriptures. I always feel that Mataji's scriptures, reading scriptures, understanding the essence of scriptures is what shapes a person when it comes to Krishna consciousness. That's what molds a person. That's what molds his character.
Thank you very much, Mataji. And the prenatal impressions, yes, I'm very much, thank you very much.
You have a daughter. I was very much thinking about your daughter and your newborn grandson. Yeah.
Yeah, but we have an example over here with us, Prahlad Prabhu, who is when he maybe his mother is also listening. So maybe Sadhana Mataji, if you are around, you can tell us about prenatal impressions, what you did, so that Prahlad is what Prahlad is, if you wanted to share. So I'll hand over to Prahlad Prabhu, who can close the session, and if Sadhana Mataji wants to share, she can share as well.
Wonderful.
But prenatal impressions are very important, and we can see it in the new crop of the children that are born to devotees. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. I would first like to thank Her Grace Radhika Kasturi Mataji for this very wonderful nectar. Yes, I totally agree with the statement that, we have to be the servant of the servant. We always have to remember that and keep that in our minds constantly. So that's a very important point. So thank you, Mataji, for emphasizing that point today. I would also like to thank the devotees assembled for attending this wonderful class and listening to Her Grace Radhika Kasturi Mataji. So Mataji, on behalf of ISKCON Eldoret, would like to thank you. So I would like to kindly request all the devotees assembled, please unmute yourselves and let's chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra once for Her Grace Radhika Kasturi Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama
Rama Hare Hare. Kalpatarubhyasya kripasantubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavibhyo namo namah.
Prabhupada ki
Jai.
Grace Radhika Kasturi Mataji ki.
Okay.
Nitai Gaur Premanande.
Hare Bol.
Hari Hari Bol. Hari Hari Bol.